Hi, Dan Verton, Executive Editor with MeriTalk, and we're here today at the Cybersecurity Brainstorm, and I'm talking with Mr. Peter Romness from Cisco. Peter, how are you doing today?
I'm very good, thank you.
Well, thanks so much for being here. We want to talk about cybersecurity, and I'd like to start off maybe with the issue of the basics, the fundamentals, basic cybersecurity hygiene. What do agencies have to do to ensure that they have the basics in place, and are they doing those things today?
Well, you know, the short answer to that is that different agencies are in different places. But to go into a little bit more detail, we are in the midst of a digital revolution in this country. We call it the digitization of everything. So whether it is Uber for your transportation, Amazon for your shopping, or government offering new services, this ability to digitize is creating all kinds of new opportunities. Now, along with that is that there are risks involved. Mm-hmm. And so this has been happening for a long time, but it's really accelerated lately. And so it's incumbent upon all of these agencies to either catch up or to look at things in a new way. And what they really need to do, how do they get started? They start with a plan. They look at what they have, they look at what's needed, and move from there. It's just like almost any other business decision. Mm-hmm. You know, you make a decision based on risk and reward, and you move forward. So that's what right. I see as the big thing agencies need to do.
So, you know, when we look at things like the OPM breach and other major incidents, we have the OMB coming out with a 30-day cybersecurity sprint. It seems like cybersecurity, and I think a lot of our audience would agree with this, seems to be more reactive to incidents after the fact. How do we get the government at the agency level to move from being reactive to being more proactive in terms of their cybersecurity postures?
Well, and then the answer to that gets back to making a decision and going into planning. It's no longer a matter of if you're going to get breached, either from an insider or from outside. It's going to happen. And if you don't think so, you're just kidding yourself. So it's a matter of looking at the resources available, making a decision, and moving forward.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry. You know, identity management obviously plays a key role in all of this. We have to know that people are who they say they are when they're on the networks. But also when you think about issues like Mr. Edward Snowden and other potential insiders, we have to be able to protect privileged accounts that have access to many of the keys to the kingdom, if you will. Yeah. How do we go about doing that?
Well, what we like to say is that identity is no longer a username and password anymore. So one thing that comes up often is multi-factor authentication. So that is something that you have that may be a device, or it may be a password, or it may be a username. Something that you are, which would be who you are, your name and things like that. And then something that you know, which would be a password. Okay, so those are the different factors. And that's a big thing. But also, identity is more than just those things. It's more than just you. It's the who, what I like to call the who, what, when, where, and how of someone is doing something. So who is the person? That's the part we've always done. Where are they coming from? What are they doing? What are they using to connect? How are they getting into your network? And then the last one, I guess, was when. And you know, should a contractor that you're allowing access to certain parts of your network be allowed to access it outside of normal business hours? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, on top of that, you can use all of that who, what, when, where, why, who, what, when, where, and how in order to grant access to different resources that are available to your organization. So a person that, say, is a financial person would be given access to the financial resources, but not maybe the personnel and customer resources. Whereas a person in human resources would have personnel, but not financial. And with the ability to look at this who, what, when, where, and how, and make those decisions, you can segregate your network into all of these resources and only allow the least privileged access to those things.
Right.
So that's something that we're doing a lot now. And it's the way that we're recommending that people segment their network and their resources.
Right. So at the end of the day, for a lot of our viewers, they might be at agencies that are doing all the right things. They are doing all the right basics. They have advanced capabilities in place. The reality is they still may fall victim to a data breach or some sort of hack. And that boils down now to the response. How do you respond effectively?
Yes.
Where do you come down in terms of what are the elements of an effective response and recovery plan?
Yes. Now, we talked earlier about planning. So one of the most important things is to have a plan in place before the breach. So that means who do you call, what do you do, what resources do you employ, things like that. Now, in addition to that, one of the things that we like to talk about is how are you going to find the breach that got through, and how are you going to get rid of it so that you can take care of any damage it's done and stop what it's doing, and then most importantly get back to business. So we've been talking about an ability to track every file that enters your network, see everything it touches, everywhere it goes, so that when that file is found to be malicious, you can go in and yank it right out. We call that retrospective detection, and that's something that we're working with all of our customers to introduce.
Right. I was kind of surprised at the DHS earlier if you heard Jeff Eisensmith talk about recovery within 15 minutes. I mean, that's a pretty robust...
We actually have the capability that if there's a file in one of our customers' networks, and we find via data from a customer around the world that that file is bad, instantaneously we can go in and either block, drop, or delete that file from all of our customers' networks. So we're at that point today.
That's impressive. Well, Peter, thank you so much for your time today.
It's my pleasure.
Great to be here.
Thank you, Dan.
I'm Dan Verton with MeriTalk. Thanks very much for watching.